Hello, students. Today you will be hearing The Mystery of the Growing Rock, a Native American tale, written by Kathy Weist and Mary Dettle. We're going to learn why mountains grow. On a warm summer day in Southern California, a medicine worm named Wise Worm was wiggling his way into a Chumash reservation. He looked around and saw families living along the coast of the Pacific Ocean. The Chumash were residing in large dome-shaped homes that are made of willow branches, where whale bones are used for reinforcement, and the roofs are made of tulle mats. As Wise Worm arrived, he noticed the village was in a panic. He said, "How can I help you?" A mama goat raced to the front of the crowd, very distraught. "Clump, clump, clump," she said. "My baby kids were eating grass along the hillside, and the mountain moved up, up, up. I can't reach them anymore. Please help me. Please, Wise Worm." Wise Worm knew exactly what had happened and started to explain the scientific reason behind the movement of the mountain. But the crowd all began yelling and started explaining why they thought the mountain moved. Sammy the Seagull was certain the sun god was mad at the village and was changing the landscape for punishment. Wise Worm knew the explanation was a Native American legend. He said, "Oh, but no, that isn't so. Science has proven how mountains grow." Then California Quail spoke up using another legend as an explanation. He said the rain god changed the landscape to get the earth closer to the clouds, so it could rain down on it more effectively. Bobby Bobcat was adamant that the mountain had grown because he asked the Chumash god of Upper World to bring him a friend. He is sure God is delivering those baby goats to him as a gift. Wise Worm knew both Bobby Cat and California Quail's explanation were also Native American legends. He cried out, "Oh, but no, that isn't so. Science has proven how mountains grow. What has happened is an earthquake." They occur frequently in California along cracks called the faults. Earthquakes happen when huge blocks of rock slide past each other at a fault. But we didn't see a fault line. Nowhere to be seen. The Chumash shouted, "Then it must have been a blind thrust fault. A blind thrust fault is hidden and doesn't reach all the way to the Earth's surface. The Earth has shifted, and the mountain has been created," Wise Worm calmly said. "But how do we get the baby goats back down again?" Nanny, the mama goat, said. "I'm going to ask the god of Upper World to bring my baby kids back to me." Wise Worm began to explain the science behind the earthquake when the village heard a rumble. "What's that?" shouted Bobby Bobcat. Often we hear an earthquake before it happens, but most likely this is an aftershock. Aftershocks are smaller earthquakes that occur after large earthquakes. Just then the earth started shaking. All the animals' eyes doubled in size. The mountain began trembling and rocks started giving way. Rocks of all sizes tumbled down the hillside, and along with them came the baby goats, shaken, not stirred. "Oh, thank you, Wise Worm. You did this. It's a miracle," said Nanny, the mama goat. "Oh, but no, I didn't do this. Earthquakes are naturally occurring events that happen along the fault lines. Science has proven this. I'm just glad it worked out in your favor. and your kids are safe. And with that, Wise Worm left the Chumash Reservation to spread the knowledge of science wherever he traveled throughout the state of California. So the animals, they believed that either the gods were doing this, and Wise Worm was telling them it was science. The mountains weren't really growing. What was happening, there was an earthquake happening, and all the land was shifting and creating a mountain. So this is how you can tell that back then, the Native Americans, for any natural thing that happened, they thought it happened because of the gods, either because the gods were mad at them, or like you guys heard, the gods wanted to get the earth closer to them, that way it can rain on them. They had an explanation for everything through a story.